Salesforce CRM Stock posted some solid revenue gains. Future expectations moved higher. Is it enough? Would I pull the trigger? Let me show you what it is I'm looking at for Salesforce CRM Stock, despite the fact it has surged based on future increases for earnings per share, why I still wouldn't pull the trigger. Let's jump in. If you're just joining me for the very first time, thanks so much. I'm D.H. Taylor. What I do is I analyze stocks using value investment principles, but I also, and first and foremost, look at the economy. I'm an economist, and what I break down is what's going to happen next with the economy, then ask the question, when should you pull the trigger on stocks such as Salesforce CRM stock? And while I like some of the things I see with Salesforce, the increasing revenue, the increasing earnings per share, I wouldn't pull the trigger right now at this price. That doesn't mean that eventually we're not going to see a shift, and that's the thing. The economy is going to start to contract. Given the contraction in the economy with lower and lower jobs, Salesforce stock, along with every single stock out there, is likely to be adjusted downward by analysts. Those stocks will move lower. For someone who's savvy and patient, one of the key variables there, you might be able to buy CRM stock at a pretty solid price, knowing that this is a company that could perform well in an expanding economy. We're in a contracting economy. So that's what we're really looking at. And here we're looking at CRM stock. This is the 4-hour bar chart on CRM stock. Salesforce saw some good gains with revenue, but it is the future earnings that went up significantly for next year that I really wanted to focus on. Nonetheless, the 4-hour bar chart shows that there was a pretty decent surge. We were sitting about $224, shot up to well over 260, almost 265, just below 250 right now. I did see 249 just print, despite what I have on the chart here. This will likely soften more. The stock market itself looks like it wants to go lower today. We'll see how that works out. In the meantime, quarterly revenue, $8.72 billion, which was a peak for them. When we break down projected revenues, if you look at 2024, you're looking at 34.8 and about 38.5 billion in revenue for 2025. One of the keys to value investing is one of the first questions you're looking for is what will the revenue look like over the course of the next, say, 5 to 10 years? Salesforce continues to grow. It continues to add revenue. Given an economy that is expanding, Salesforce, you could reasonably assume, is going to continue to grow their revenue. That would trickle down to profits. Hopefully, we'll break that down in just a second, but it's such an important thing. I'm not looking for a company where revenues are up, down, up, down, up, down. I'm looking for increasing revenue year after year after year. Now, there is some variability within each quarter, so that's why we look at the overall annual growth rates. Breaking down the margins, 67.2% gross margin, operating margins of 17.85%, and then net margins for Salesforce down to 14%. They had been higher. So if this is the low end and they continue to increase their revenue, we probably could see maybe 20% print for net margins, which would not be bad at all. Projected earnings per share, both 2024 and 2025, from the projections I just had back in October, these went higher, much higher. This is where sort of the cheerleading happened. They were looking at about $6 for 2024 prior to this latest release. Now they're at $8.20. That's a huge jump. But is it enough? 2025, of course, $9.50 for earnings per share projections. Let's break down yield. What do you get if you buy CRM stock? What can they do? What will happen? Price right now, $2.49. Earnings per share, $8.19 for 2024. Again, this was increased. This gives CRM a yield for someone buying the stock today, right now at that $2.49 price, of 3.29%, call it 3.3. Your benchmark alternative The benchmark, what do we look at? What's the gauge? The U.S. 10-year Treasury yield, 4.25%. The thing is, with 4.25%, it's likely to move lower simply because it looks like the economy might start contracting a little faster than the Federal Reserve had hoped for. They're trying to contain inflation. We're seeing job growth start to minimize significantly. We just got a piece of data this morning which will set up what's going to happen on Friday for non-farm payrolls. It could get ugly, which would mean the 10-year yield, the benchmark, would drop. Given that, how far? Could we see 3.75% with the U.S. 10-year Treasury yield? That's a possibility over the course of the next, say, 12 months, which would mean that benchmark would get closer to CRM yield, CRM stock yield, if you bought at 250. But the economy is going to contract, which would mean CRM, Salesforce, likely wouldn't hit those revenue goals, nor would they hit their earnings per share projections. So not only will the 10-year Treasury yield likely move a little bit lower, but the yield you would get by owning CRM stock is likely to contract at this price. Basically, you want a better price for CRM stock if you want to get in. This is a company that's growing its revenue and will grow its earnings per share after we get past this little hiccup. The hiccup being a contracting economy. So taking a look at CRM stock, here's Salesforce on a weekly basis. You can see that things shot up significantly. Likely, we come back down. Will we see the 130 mark again? That's a possibility. We were just there a few months ago. Towards the end of 2022, we've rebounded. That's the story of all stocks, but all stocks are starting to lose their steam, and that yield being as low as it is, it's keeping investors from really pushing things further. We've got a lot more information that we need to get, but for me, when I look at Salesforce, I see an expanding revenue base. I see the earnings per share, projected earnings per share, moving higher and higher. The yield right now, not quite there for me. I'd want to see Salesforce drop definitely below, say, 200, which isn't too far away when you consider how expensive all other stocks are based on the alternative investment of the U.S. 10-year Treasury. Given that, when they sell lower, companies like Salesforce, which is an expanding company, would see CRM stock drop. And for a savvy value investor, that's the time to buy CRM stock. Make sure to hit the like and follow button if you're looking for investments like this, breaking down stocks where I look at value investment, but also, more importantly, the economy. Make sure you hit that like and follow button. See you in the next video.